Why they not calling me back? A simple reply is all I'm looking for. Have you ever sent out a communication, whether it was personal or business, and the recipient never replied? I mean, this really boils my blood. The communication was honest and non-confrontational, but they just don't reply. Like, why is that? I have a theory, and we want to talk about that theory. I think there are 3 main reasons why people don't respond to your email, text messages, phone calls. So you could skywrite a message and they just not gonna reply. So really quickly, Elridge, what you think number 1 is?
Number 1 is fear of confrontation.
Fear of confrontation. And then before we get into that, we came up with 3 reasons. I'm sure there's a plethora of other reasons. And don't forget, guys, we want engagement on this channel. So if you have a different theory, go ahead and share that theory right in the comments. Like and subscribe, comment, engage. We want to reply to you. This channel is about education.
So let's dive into the fear of confrontation. I think one of the reasons people fear of confronting a business partner or fear of confronting business to business relationships or business to seller relationships is because fear of going up against someone that is perceived more knowledgeable than them.
I can see that happening.
What you think about that?
So I think that happens a lot. Like, you may get communication, I don't know, maybe from the IRS or something like that. You're not versed in this space, or, you know, it happens to me all the time. I get communication from title attorneys. They're really notaries, some of them. We get communication from title attorneys or someone in a professional space, and you're like, okay, well, I have no idea what they're talking about. I don't even know what this word means. And they use these big words. People like to throw out big words. Sometimes I do that too. They like to throw out these big words, these acronyms. And it puts you in a position of intimidation, so to speak, in the communication space, right? You start off typing something and then you backspace. You might send a text and like, nah, or you might write the whole thing and you let it sit.
In a draft.
And you let it sit in a draft because you're pondering on how to respond to this person, right? For me, I just Google anything that I don't understand. And then I educate myself in like 5 to 10 minutes. And then I respond.
Right. Or if you don't have Google and you face to face with the person, sometimes you just have to ask, what do that acronym mean? What do that word mean?
What does it mean?
And that's important too. But I think also going into a conversation where you know it's going to be tension, sometimes going into that conversation, you're kind of scared, right?
Right.
And you can be scared of the outcome of it. If you're going to keep this relationship, if this relationship is going to go its separate ways. And I think that's one of the biggest causes of just not communicating and just thinking you forgot about it, but when you really didn't forget about it.
But all confrontation isn't bad though.
Yeah, it's not.
Like, it's how you present your information. Confrontation doesn't have to be heated and escalated and argumentative.
Right.
Confrontation is just simply, you have one way of viewing things, I have another way of viewing things, and I'm probably not gonna bend as much. You're probably not gonna bend as much, and we both want to get our points across. But you have to go in the I think if you enter into the communication with, okay, hey, listen, it's that old saying, I agree to disagree. And when you have that going into the conversation or the communication that I respectfully disagree, you also have to have that expectation that this relationship may no longer continue or it may get better.
Exactly. And I agree 100%. The second reason why people would go ghost or stop communication is simply because they got a better offer.
This happens a lot in sales. We're always, listen, I feel like no matter what your business is, you're always in the sales, right?
Always selling.
You're selling your employees on something, or you're selling your customers on something. You're always in a sales position if you are in business.
Yeah.
And especially in real estate, this happened to us a lot when Elridge was wholesaling properties and I was listing properties. My offer is in my presentation, right? My listing presentation. They may not like something I said. They may not like how much I think they can get for their property. Whatever the case may be, a seller or someone who wants to list their property is going to go ghost.
Right. And we're familiar with the sales cycle, right? You know, from the time the relationships start to the time you close them.
Right.
You know, and we're familiar with the processes you have to put in place to get someone to actually do business with you, right? So we understand the offer to following up to putting a deadline on the offer and things like that. But how do you get that person to commit? And what come to mind is a story we had with a previous client where we extended a loan with him.
Yes.
To do business with him.
We've actually extended him 3 loans.
Yeah, we extended 3 loans. He only did one. So we got to get better at sales then, right?
Got to get better at sales.
Yeah, we definitely have to get better at sales. This guy, and we knew he was shopping. So what we did was we put a deadline on it. We put a deadline on the offer. And even though we still didn't close them because the deal had, I think, bad title issues or something like that, we got him to communicate.
Yes.
Yeah, because at the end, he eventually communicated with us and because of that deadline.
Right.
Yeah.
He communicated with us because of the deadline. Was it like towards the end though? Like really close to?
Yeah, it was towards the end.
Yeah, it was really close towards the deadline. So when you put a deadline on something, if you are making offers, which you should put a deadline on everything.
Yeah.
We gotta wait that time out, right?
Right.
Wait it. They're gonna reply. Even if they're shopping, in most cases, they will reply.
Yeah. And that brings me to the third reason why people stop communicating in business is previous experience.
I say this a lot, right? You can't base your previous experience. It may look similar, but you can't base your previous experience on what the future outcome may be in your present situation.
Yeah.
Whether you were accustomed to getting a no or a yes, and either way it was a negative response. A no can be negative, a yes can be negative as well. Whether the negative response was warranted or not, you have to give yourself a shot, right? You still have to give yourself an opportunity in the current situation for a positive outcome. I love football. And if you're in the huddle, you have to break the huddle to run the play. Whether you score or not, you will never know until you actually run the play.
Right.
So when you get into situations that look similar and you're like, hey, this game, I've seen this before. I've seen this tape before. I've seen this video before. No, you got to let it play out. And the way you let it play out is you respond.
Exactly.
You respond to the offer or you respond to the person that's trying to communicate with you. Maybe you tweak a little thing. Maybe you don't respond the way you did the first time to get the negative response in your previous experience. And so you learn from those experiences to respond differently, right?
Exactly. And Anitra loves football and I love basketball. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So don't let a no stop you from getting closer to your yes.
Exactly. Don't let the previous no do that.
Yeah.
Because you have no idea what that can look like. Quick story for us. We're direct private hard money lenders here in the New Orleans market. The market is tough, guys. Since New Orleans decided to cut Airbnb, some of our borrowers are having difficult times paying us, making the monthly payment. They're having a harder time selling the properties, getting us our whole principal and interest back. We understand. Why? Because we're investors first.
Right.
We know what's going on out here. We ourselves have property on the market that isn't selling as quickly or as fast as it had in the past. But if you truly have a business relationship with someone or partnership with someone, when you cut the communication, you limit our creativity.
Exactly.
You say?
Yeah, definitely. And that brings me to the ultimate reason of why sellers, buyers, business to business, do not communicate is because of pride. In our business, we deal with a lot of people who are successful, people who did fix and flips over time, did have buy and hold properties, own multiple units and things like that.
They're considered experts in their space.
Yeah,
right?
they considered experts, and they considered experienced real estate investors. So when a tough time like we have in New Orleans, where borrowers are late on their payments, it's their pride get in the way of them communicating. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so it goes back to like a previous video I spoke on last week. Check it out. The root is also, I want to say, your own self-righteousness, right? And this keeps coming up with me all the time because I'm dealing with it, right? God is dealing with me on my own self-righteousness. And this comes in all kind of forms. And that form, one of the forms is pride, right? You have to learn how to separate yourself, right? And not be so presumptuous on what you think may happen. A lot of times, dialogue and communication, it opens up a world of possibilities.
Yeah.
Even in personal relationships, marriages, and boyfriend and girlfriend relationships, when you had that open dialogue, it makes the relationship easier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and sometimes I know we live in a day and age of social media, right?
Right.
And everybody they perceive their image, right?
Right.
The image they try to keep up. You can't name one successful person that haven't been through anything. You know, you can't name a successful relationship that haven't had adversity.
Right.
You know, so even though we have this image we want to keep up, that people look at us as this successful person,
Right.
but adversity do happen, and we have to walk into that adversity versus shy away from it. And one way of walking into it is just simply communicating.
Right. Adversity builds character.
Yeah.
And sometimes cutting your losses early is the win.
Yeah, definitely. Because if you cut your losses early, it help you for future business.
Right.
Because sometimes the one bad apple could spoil the rest of the bunch, right?
Right.
The rest of the deals you have coming
the rest of the deals you have.
Because you're digging yourself out of a hole from that one bad apple.
Correct.
You know, I hope that analogy.
I got it.
You got it?
If y'all didn't get it, go ahead and comment time to say, this dude here.
But the ultimate solution is, good or bad, communicate.
That's it. Like, subscribe, comment, engage. We love y'all.